can hear me.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me now. This is Omar Kanda, managing partner here at Unity Tax Partners, formerly Community Income Tax or CIT. Excited to get into another year with everyone and new faces and returning faces, and we're all very pumped up for this upcoming year. Joining me today is my teammate Alexis Bailey here at Unity and Carter Dempsey with Republic Bank. We usually do these webinars to remind you of all the exciting new changes coming up for next year, as well as some opportunities, and hopefully answer any questions you might have for this upcoming tax season. With that, I'm going to let Alexis take over and kind of just go over the rules of engagement here for questions and answers, and we'll pass it over to Carter Dempsey to give us all the fascinating new updates with Republic Bank.
Hey everyone, it's Alexis. For those of you that don't know me, I am the Director of Customer Relations at Unity Tax Partners. Today I'll be helping a lot with questions as well as polls. So if you take a look at your screen right now, you're going to see a section labeled Q&A. All throughout the webinar, feel free to type in any questions you may have, and towards the end of the webinar, we will go ahead, go through each of those questions so we can answer anything we still have pending. Additionally, we will have several polls going on during this webinar. So throughout the presentation, you'll get little pop-ups for you to answer. That way we can find out what you guys may need more information on and help. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Carter.
Can you nod if you can hear me? I had to change my settings. Omar, can you hear me?
Yes, we can absolutely hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey everybody, excited to be meeting with everybody today. We got a lot of information to go over. There's a couple value adds we're doing at no additional cost, so I'm very excited about. And to be here with Unity Tax Partners. I like the name. The videos are so sweet. So let's kind of get into this. So we're Republic Bank. Happy to be doing this. Let's show you the team. So we have maybe 200 people in StarTech, which is our customer service group. They handle forms processing, basic questions, taxpayer questions, office questions at a basic level. Everything else is escalated to these 4 individuals. We do have an EP management team too, but they're typically escalated around taxpayer circumstances or office circumstances as it relates to your check reissue forms, right? Myself, I'm the VP, Director of Independent Tax. Margie, who's the Director of Tax Office Relationship Management. Elba Torres, who's an AE2. She's also bilingual. And then Mary Booker is an AE2, and we're very excited to have her. She has decades in the industry, and she came and joined us this past year. So we are likely 4 of the people you'll be talking with whenever it's a more sophisticated question or inquiry. In fact, I know several of you personally and enjoy you quite a bit. So let's move on. So just a little background about Republic. I mean, several of you guys have been using Republic for years, so I don't want to get too deep into the things that aren't helping you better understand us, other than to say we're a regional bank located in 5 states. We're about $6.5 billion in assets. We have 42 retail locations across 5 states. We process millions of taxpayers through tens of thousands of offices. We are the 2nd largest bank program offering financial products. So although we're a regional bank, as a bank level, as far as a bank product provider, we're very large by comparison. Our commitment to you, this is my cheesy moment, forgive me. We're here for you today, we're here for you tomorrow. So basically, we're committed to you in offering our products in a fair and responsible manner, and that your taxpayers are presented clear choices in making decisions. As a stakeholder in the financial services industry, we endeavor to promote integrity throughout our program. And we love our quotes. I'm not going to read it because it feels like it's self-serving to do so, but it basically says, Republic Bank customer service is great. So let's go into the program details. Now, a lot of you know about a lot of this, but there have been some changes to benefit you. I know there's a couple people on this call that specifically asked for a couple things. We listen, and you'll see in how we handle things and how we listen. So let's talk about first the refund transfer. Okay. So what's so unique about Unity Tax Partners and really puts you apart in the marketplace, part of the reasons why you've seen success while some of the more traditional offices have experienced a lull in financial services, is because you offer the service at the most cost-effective choice. In this day and age where taxpayers are so price sensitive, offering a $0 RT where you're like, there is no cost for the service other than my tax prep fee. And you now have ancillary offerings that Unity Tax Partners offers you either with the firm level protection or this next year with the standalone Unity Audit Shield, right? So there are two different programs. Of course, you talk with Omar and Alexis about this. We have the standard, which is $20 that's offset from your tax prep fee upon funding. And then the $30, which has the firm level protection for every taxpayer that's assessed against funding as well. The big difference is at that cost, you are still significantly low comparison in the traditional marketplace to have both the ability to get your fees, offer a loan, and offer audit protection. So you're a sight different. I think Omar and I were doing some of the break-even analysis from some of the other programs, and you guys are significantly more inexpensive. But a refund transfer, as you know, the way it works is you're essentially submitting a return rather than deposit with our bank so we can remove fees and pay you. And then we also have the ability to facilitate loans and other services through it. But the refund transfer is just to ensure you get paid, right? And there's 6 easy steps. Then you can refer back to the slide later.
And I also just want to jump in, Carter, just letting you know, since you hinted on the Unity Tax Shield. Audit Shield was the name of it. It's going to be rebranded to Unity Tax Shield, same exact program. So, and I will be holding a webinar to go into all the nuts and bolts of that program in the next month or so.
Yeah, and since he took a chance to pause there, let me explain something that's really important that you want to understand as a preparer if you don't already know. So a lot of times when people come to you, franchise and DIY are really big in the marketplace. There's an independent foothold for which you're all a part of, and then there's franchise and DIY. Do it yourself is like TurboTax, right? Amongst franchise and self-file, ancillary products are layered in as kind of a default. So in offering audit protection for many taxpayers coming to you from franchise or DIY, this is something they've already elected previously, so they would fully expect to see this through you as well. It makes you look more professional, increases your suite of offerings, and also makes you look more zipped up because you have something to protect them in the instance they face an audit. So when they're typically coming from a Jackson Hewitt, Liberty, H&R Block, or even a Turbo, this is something they're already accustomed to. So a lot of times they metabolize it easier, especially considering now that you have the a la carte option, because with the Firm Protect, everybody had it. With the a la carte, you'll find that there are more taxpayers that, especially coming from where they had it, would want it again. So it's a good option to have. Okay, so let's transition into our program and the details most of you are already aware of, and some things that changes. So our Easy Advance. All right, Easy Advance goes up to $6,000. You pay the same fee for all previous, all approved advances, and then it's repaid from the federal and state funding. It starts from e-file through February 28th. Now, we got a lot of questions about extending that into March. We're not going to, and let me tell you why. What happens in March is a large percentage of fraud compared to prior. As the season progresses, the types of returns and people trying to come into you and shop you for a loan, typically those that want to receive a loan receive it earlier, not later. So those people sometimes coming in March, we tend to find that the performance of funding and the types of returns typically decrease after that time. So we're not going to extend past February unless e-file gets turned on its ear, whereas we're hearing later e-file start dates. At that time, we would reconsider it. But for this season, we're committed through February 28th. We don't know the start of the e-file yet, but I'll get into a little bit of that later. And then the EA is 50. Now, pre-ac starts January 2nd and runs through the first day of official e-file. Okay. That's a $35 surcharge. And the big difference between Republic and the other banks is we don't do the pre-ac and the easy advance as if not this, then this. What they'll do is if they decline you for a pre-ac, they'll re-remove you for an EA. But from a taxpayer standpoint, when they want a loan, they want a loan. They don't want to show up January 2nd and you say, I'm sorry, I can't get you that. But in the middle of January, I can get you a loan. No, you're oftentimes will lose that taxpayer. So our pre-ac approval blows every other bank's out of the water because it has the same underwriting standards as the EA. So our approval rate is very high for the pre-ac, as is our average loan. Like TPG will blast out a lot of $250 approvals. How many taxpayers really want $250 for their loan? In contrast, TPG will do the $250 or $500, and then they have the percentage of loans. So just remember, more checks are getting on the streets or loans on the street through Republic through the pre-ac than any other bank, even amongst franchise, right? So we still consistently have the highest average advance amount and the highest approval in the industry consistently. It's just something we do very, very well. And then if you remember, the net refund determines the loan amount the taxpayer can choose, but they can be countered into a lower amount. Now, everybody always forgets this. It's a new season. For our Euro lending programs and for our pre-ac, you opt in through our TIC. You enroll for the advanced program. But when you want to do the pre-ac starting November 1st in the TIC, you go to options features. You'll see wrap, pre-wrap, pre-ac. That's the day you opt in. It's just smart to go in, enroll, get approved, and opt in for all those programs early so you can just have, I got my pre-ac ready. My wrap's going to start. My pre-wrap, I can get my money out sooner. Now, we're going to have 8,000 offices enroll for pre-wrap within 4 days. So we try to get money out as fast as possible, but the benefit to you is CIT is seen as VIP. So we always prioritize your offices over the other offices as VIP. So you guys are typically approved first. Can we assure every one of you that we can get your money out by November 4th when the first money goes out? No. But there are many offices that won't get their money till later because we are prioritizing you over them first. So got a little ahead of myself. But so the Easy Advance Plus, this is just to give you an idea of the cost and then the thresholds. Remember, the min net refund is the refund minus fees. So as you know, in the drop down on the software, depending on what their net refund is, you see all amounts. So if their min net refund is $7,000, they could select any one of these amounts for the loan and still be countered, right? So, and these are the costs associated with it. Now, a couple things that changed. No matter what we do, 60% of enrollment still happens after Christmas. We can offer a free car and it's still not going to change most of enrollment happening after Christmas. So what we've done is we've extended the deadline to enroll for EA Plus 7 days later. Last year it was the 19th. This year we're going to January 26th, just in case there's any late stragglers that they have the ability to still get the loan and not have to deal with the exception, because they came in late. And our finance charge is still fixed. So the other banks, their finance charge is floater. They disclose on their bank application the loan at 25 days, but they actually calculate the loan based on when paid. So 60 days for one bank, 90 days for another. When the taxpayer gets the application estimating what their fee is, this finance charge, it's often different than what they actually paid because they'll estimate 25 days but go up to 60 or 90. And if you think that e-file could start late this next year, which is possible, then that matters even more that you have a fixed finance charge because theirs comparatively will be lower to the other banks because of the funding from filing time frame. All right. And remember, the PATH Act does not allow anything containing EIC or CDC to fund before February 15th, regardless of the start date. But after February 15th, the funding cycle is still 5 to 7 days, right? So that's really the tie that binds. And the Easy Advance Plus is by far our most popular option. Okay. This is something that's really big and something that we changed and has no cost to you. Now, I need to start off with an apology, especially to a couple of you on this call that called about it a lot. Last year, what happened, we started something called real-time payments. It was supposed to start on January 2nd, where every taxpayer that applied for a loan, if their receiving account was set up via RTP. So there's nothing about them being eligible or not eligible. It's just that their bank, that routing transit number, is set to receive RTP. If you go to the clearinghouse.org, it lists all RTNs that are set to receive via RTP. That way, if a taxpayer asks, you can look. Now, is that something you're really going to do with it being free? Likely not. You're saying if they're eligible, they'll get it. So as a study, as of August 2024, 65% of all banks in the US had RTN set up to receive via RTP. Now that we've done it a year, 45% of accounts through Republic received via RTP. However, it was supposed to start January 2nd. They did not physically turn us on till February 2nd. So if you notice, your taxpayers were not getting those loans in real time until the first week of February. This year, we're starting it out of the gates. Not only that, but we're doing something else. Any taxpayer that receives an advance via RTP, their subsequent refund transfer, upon the Treasury notification from the ACH, the ACH notification from Treasury, we are going to make their funds available in their account right then. So that means any taxpayer that gets a loan is a direct deposit and their account set up through RTP with their bank, they're going to get their money in real time, which means they could not make it out your door before the money's in their account. But when we get the notification that the RT is going to fund, we're also going to make those funds available to them that same day, which is well before the actual funding is effective, for free. Our entire bank just converted from FIS to Fiserv, and the best way I know how to describe it is we're kind of trying to move up technologically, is that it's like going from analog to digital. So we're going to have more features as time progresses, but it takes a while to build because that was the next step in being able to offer like kind of cutting edge bank tech. So we just finished our conversion, and one of our initiatives is this, even at a bank level. But apart from that, we're also going to add something called FedNow, which adds about 20 to 25% more banks because that's through the Fed versus RTP, which is private. So 45% could go up to 60 or 65% in deposits received for receiving accounts. That's where we'll get to, because the problem with this, the good thing is we're not charging for it. But the problem with this is every taxpayer wants to see their money in real time, but you can't control if the bank that they're using is set up for it or not. So as I said, last season we started 2-2. This season we're starting on 1-2. And if they get a loan and it goes via RTP, come heck or high water, their ACH for their RT is going out RTP too. The difference being it's from the notification. So they'll get their refund 5 to 7 days early in their checking account for free. So think about it. You're offering a $0 RT. You're going to offer them getting their money in real time for free. You have a huge value prop, and we're not even done yet. So are there any questions on this? Because I've done this presentation a couple of times, and there are usually a lot of questions about this in particular. Or did you want to hold those to the end, Omar and Alexis?
I think let's hold questions till the end, but I am going to interject here and ask my own question.
Sure.
So what is the best way that they present real-time payments to their clients, not knowing if their banks do or do not participate?
So my bank this year is doing real-time deposits, but them doing it, if you get a loan, they're going to do real-time deposits and your refund transfer after. It's actually going to have some people probably apply for a loan that normally wouldn't because they want to get their RT faster, right? But the point being is there's no cost and it's starting out of the gates, right? So there's no cost to you. And part of the reason for that is not every bank is set up with this. So you may receive, if you get your loan in real time in your account, your RT will as well. Like it's an assurance, because it's not like the loan would go and the RT wouldn't. They're both going to go. But as far as setting the expectation, the only thing they can do is give them that link for the taxpayer to go and look up their own RTN to see if it's set up. Because I have a feeling when we start doing this for preparers, because that's the next step for like fees and stuff in real time, preparers are definitely going to be checking to make sure their account's set up via RTP versus a taxpayer. They're not as likely to change their account for it. But if they see that they are set up for it, they may choose to get an advance because they want to get that RT in real time too, right? So all you can do is really set the expectation that it's about one out of every 2 taxpayers is going to get this in their account in real time. Well, how do I know if I do? Well, you can go to www.theclearinghouse.org, go to real-time payments, type in your RTN, and see if that's a receiving RTN. It's really the best you could do. I think this would be a little more challenging if it was for charge, like TPG charges $25 for theirs. That's harder because there's a fee associated with it. Because it's free, it's a value add. You can't make any assurances, but if it doesn't happen, can they really? It's not on you. It's not even really on them. It's on their bank, but you're not charging for it. So how much can they complain, right? Short of, well, my sister got her money right away. Why didn't I? Well, her account must be set up to receive money in real time, right?
Awesome. Thanks, Carter.
Yeah. And again, no questions, bad question. If you have a question, let me know at the end. And just in case you're not familiar with real-time payments, basically what it is, it's a backdoor system that's like Wire. So nights, weekends, holidays don't count. It could be 9 p.m. on a Friday, and they'll get their money at 9:01 p.m. It could be Saturday, Sunday. It could be Martin Luther King. They're going to get their money in their account within minutes of us receiving the application, because if it's set up, we just automatically send it. The thing that's going to cause a little more confusion is the refund transfer. About the time they're notified of when they're going to receive their money and that date, it's going to come before that date. So you know how the taxpayers always call, like they're hoping that like God came down and suddenly made their return different and it's going to deposit 2 weeks early? Well, this year, that's actually going to happen. You know, some people are going to be like, well, have you got my money yet? Oh, it just so happens that it's going out today. Well, it doesn't show till next week on the IRS. Where's my refund? That's right. So we see this getting more clients, you know, aligned with you as the preparer, because they're going to see this as something specifically you've done. And it will set you apart from the person next door, because one, Pathward doesn't even have it. TPG has it, but they charge for it. And considering that we're doing the loan and the refund transfer at no cost, I mean, we're going to be loaning out, granted, it's just in 5 to 7 day cycles in a revolving door. We're probably going to be loaning out close to $300 million at any given time for this, right? So, all right, so Receivable Assistance Program. We have gotten an inordinate amount of calls about this already, which we would fully expect. The opt-in, let's see, today is Wednesday. The opt-in starts on Sunday. So on Sunday, you're going to be able to go opt in for pre-wrap, wrap, and pre-act. The pre-act, obviously, that's later. Wrap, that's later. Pre-wrap's what's most important to get done now. If you need your preseason funds, then November 1st, you can opt in. Now, here's what we did different. The minimum for Unity Tax Partners has always been 50. As a VIP, we allow the 50 RT minimum to get it. And it allows you to select it if you're 50. If you're new to Unity Tax Partners and you didn't have any volume come in your enrollment for us to see that you did at least 50, but you did, you just need to call the bank for us to turn it on so you to be able to opt in, and then it'll allow you to put in your bank product volume and select an amount. But we now have opened up more tiers, so you shouldn't have to call and say, well, I don't see my amount. I need this, so the underwriter can go approve that. You should be able to select your maximum amount from the drop down. So if you've been with Republic, or you haven't been with Republic, but CIT feels comfortable with you, then you can get up to 25% of your tax prep fees in that drop. If you're brand new to Republic and CIT is not aware of you previously, then we only do 10% or up to 20,000. The 25% goes up to 40 for returning offices or offices that CIT feels comfortable in offering that to. And that goes out starting on the 4th, twice a week, every week until the end of December. Now, when you apply, you have to not only apply for pre-rep, but you have to complete your beneficial ownership status. So every time what happens is someone goes in and applies for pre-rep. They select their amount, it's the right amount, and then they think they're done. It doesn't work that way. What happens is you go select your amount, then it sends you to complete the beneficial ownership form. Once you complete the beneficial ownership form and it's not applicable or pass, then underwriting approves you. You are technically done for pre-rep when you accept the amount you're approved for. So there's applying for it, and then there's accepting the amount. Once you accept the amount, if it's prior to Tuesday at noon, then it'll go out Tuesday. If it's afternoon on Tuesday, but before noon on Friday, then it'll go out Friday. And it happens that way every week, all the way through December. And then in addition to that, if you select more than 25% of your fees, underwriting is only going to approve up to over 25%. So if this year, because we broke the tiers, you happen to see 40,000 and you click on it, but you only are eligible for 20, you're only going to be approved for 20. Just because you can select the amount doesn't mean that's automatically what you're getting. It will not exceed 25% of your tax prep fees. Now, if by some chance you can't see your 25% in the drop down, you select the maximum amount that you can, you call the bank and say, hey, I can only select 9,500, but I know I'm eligible for 15,000. They'll comment the system, you're requested 15K. It'll go to the underwriter. The underwriter will change it, because what's important is not what you apply for, it's the amount you accept as approved for. So if that amount, once approved, that you need to accept is not the correct amount, do not accept it and call us, because once money goes out the door, I cannot change it. I can't send additional money. I can't redo an application. I can make any change you need prior to money going out the door. But once it's out, it's locked, because pre-wrap rolls into wrap, and there's no way to finagle it to get that agreement to accommodate both. And then remember, wrap, the second portion, which is the in-season fee assistance, will not kick in until twice the amount of fees are ACT from pre-wrap. So if you get $5,000 in pre-wrap, it's not until you have $10,001 ACT before your first 50 cents goes out on wrap. Without fail, 2,000 offices will call this year and be like, why isn't my wrap started? And it's because this year they decided to get a lot more pre-wrap, which you're eligible for. It's your money. But if you do that, remember, it takes longer for wrap to kick in. So be mindful that if you do too much in pre-wrap, it could affect your wrap, because we've also extended the date for wrap this year. So for pre-wrap, it starts November 1st, goes through December. Wrap starts on the second day of hub testing. So the first day, the IRS starts providing acts from hub. That second day, we take all of your acts from the first day up through noon that day, and we send out a deposit for 50% of your tax prep fees. The big difference is last year, this only went through the 6th. This year, we're running it through the 9th. So we gave 3 extra days in wrap because you guys asked, and I think it was specifically CIT people that asked, or Unity Tax Partners people that asked, hey, can you extend that a little longer? So it is going through the 9th this year, 3 more days of wrap. And the latest that we can delay the 100% collection, because it's only 50% collection up until February 16th, was February 16th. Because February 15th is the PATH Act date, we had to hard code in our system that it's going to convert to 100% collection February 16th. We wanted to get as close to the PATH funding as possible, because there's such a trickle of fees coming in before that, to where when PATH funds are kind of paid off, but it's not precise. I mean, I think we get the first PATH funding usually in between the 22nd and the 24th of February, that it's effective here, right? WRAP is open to new and existing EROs. and you also opt in through the tick for it. But we did make some changes in extending wrap and how you can select the pre-wrap amount to make it easier for you. And it is hard-coded now in at the 50 RT minimum order to qualify. Now, there are some EROs that have been with us a long time. If you only do pre-wrap and you don't do like wrap or anything else, sometimes margin will make exceptions at like 49, right? Because you're real close and your fee is justified, but your volume's not there. But we really only make exceptions for CIT people, and we don't do it significantly down. So if you're 30 RTs, we can't make an exception at the 50. You just have to be really close. And remember, that opt-in starts Sunday, so make sure you get in there and opt in. And you have to be enrolled. So you have to be enrolled and approved in order to opt in and get that money to go up. Okay, so this is specifically an Omar ask. Omar asked me to talk to you guys about something that some of the preparers, some of you actually too, did successfully because TaxWise is not offering the December dollars option. And I went back and forth around this a lot, but I think I finally came up with the magic sauce because the second option, the number one complaint is there's just not enough money to do what I need to do. So in the absence of TaxWise programming December dollars, there's been a workaround some offices have been using to try and emulate the program the past season and will for this next season as well. So because you can get 25% of your tax prep fees from the prior season and pre-wrap funds. And we, historically, we'd only break one tier. So you really couldn't get the full 25% if your RT volume was too low. Now you can get the full 25%. As long as you're in excess of 100 RTs, we'll look at a way to kind of bifurcate. The 50 is a little harder because there's just not enough money to stretch in two ways. So what's going to happen is, let's say you have $20,000 in tax prep fees. So you can get $5,000 in pre-wrap, right? Well, most people, when they get pre-wrap, they want to use some for this and they want to use some for their office startup. So you have to allocate, okay, I'm going to use this much to pay my rent, to get my computers updated, whatever else. I'm going to use this for this over here. You have to determine that. So what I found that was successful, because there were two things done. One is someone would get money, they would take some, they'd go into a Walmart and they'd buy a bunch of $25 or $50 gift cards off the shelf. And then they would use that to reward returning clients as like a loyalty, right? But the problem is, if you're a smaller office, $5,000 at 50 is only 100. 5,000 at 25 is only 200. And some people argued like $25 really isn't compelling. 50 was a little more, but it's still not a lot. So we found that worked for some people really well, because taxpayers get really excited about, relatively small things, especially where so many people are broke now, is they would get like 5,000 in pre-wrap. Well, they get 10,000 in pre-wrap, but they'd use 5,000 for this and 5,000 for their business. And what they do is they get three prizes. They get a $2,500 prize, a $1,500 prize, and a $1,000 prize, and they do a raffle at the end of the season. Now, end of the season is relative. Like, some of you guys go on vacation in July, so you disclose that you do the drawing in June because you don't want to miss your vacation. Some of you don't go on vacation until, October. So, make sure that you do the drawing in conjunction with the time that you're going to be available, because you don't want to offer this and not see it through. So what happens is they'll do this, they'll set aside $5,000, they'll buy three prizes, they'll come up with like a little slick, and the prizes are, and they'll have a raffle. And everybody that files their return, and you can choose to do this versus the other, because there's a couple different iterations. Some people did everybody that filed a return through you. Some people did every return that funded through you, right? Because you don't want to have someone just come and file, not fund, and then they're one that wins because you're not even paid your tax prep fee, and here they're winning the prize, right? So be mindful in how you market it. But you can make $5,000 stretch really far amongst a lot of clients doing it this way versus $5,000 with just $150 gift cards or $200, $25 gift cards, right? That $2,500, $1,500, $1,000 you could do for 1,000 taxpayers, and they'd be just as excited to win. Versus it's harder because how do I stretch it when I've only got 5,000 and want to try to give this to each taxpayer? So those are the two options. Now, We still do pre-wrap just the way we did. You're making the choice of how much you want to allocate to stimulate taxpayers to come in to get butts in seats and returning, right? So how you choose to go about this is your choice. But what I would suggest is that first option was a much more successful option for the smaller offices. They were able to get a really good bang for their buck, stretching the dollar, at 5K. I think I knew of 7 offices / groups that did that successfully. They had 5% better renewals, and I think the average was like 30 new taxpayers per office, right? So, hey, whatever works. If you consider what your average tax prep fee is, you made more than you expended, which is, you're doing this to make money, not send money out the door. Right? Any questions? Okay. And again, I just need to remind you, because everybody's getting more and more in pre-wrap each year, which is fine, it's your money. If you're someone that historically does wrap too, be real mindful about like, hey, when do I get my axe? Because if I get my axe early, then it's better because wrap will kick in. But if you tend to have people that come in a little later and your axe kick in later, then sometimes by the time wrap kicks in, you just hit your pre-wrap twice the amount act for wrap to kick in. So be careful how much money you take on the front end if you need wrap. If you don't use wrap, sky's the limit. Okay. Okay. This is something that's important, and I'll go through it briefly because I know Omar is going to send out some tax tips, and I don't like to get too taxy at the bank. But I was just at Circa last week and have some information. I can share some of it with CIT to share with you, but I just wanted to give you the hot topics. Okay. So first and foremost, a rising tide lifts all boats. Refunds will increase this year. You see the standard deduction went up. I think it's MFJ, it's $1,800, had a household $1,500, right? Basically, it went up. EIC maximum $631. You now have the taxes on tips, which is per return, beyond 14B of the W-2. You have no taxes on OT. That's per taxpayer, not per return on 14B of the W-2. Auto interest deductions for vehicles purchased through 2025 through 2028, primarily assembled in the United States. And then the Trump savings count. These were the 4 hot topics with the IRS for the next tax season, okay? This is really important to you all because I wasn't even aware of this until last week either. Apparently, the student loan offset has been turned off for 5 years. So the adjustment through BFS for student loan hasn't been done for quite some time. They're turning it back on. So what's going to happen is for the 5 years uncollected, including this season upon us, they're going to be collecting that, which means that for some taxpayers, it could greatly reduce or eliminate their refund. This is a fact. We talked about it for an hour because we wanted to make sure we weren't missing something. We do an attribute to return student loan debt, and we haven't seen adjustments in a while, so this tracks. But be aware, there will be people that have their refund offset or eliminated from student loan because it has been turned off and it just got turned back on. Also, something I'll let you guys know, because this is an active push from us between Actor and Circa and the lobbyists on the Hill. We're pushing to get the debt indicator back. It does look like we are going to get it, but it won't make it this season. There's a problem, though, because currently BFS has no way of reporting into the file where the IRS debt is related. So even if we get it added, we still don't have a solution for the BFS in addition to the IRS, and we don't know how it'll be reported. So just know that the debt indicator is likely coming back, but it's only a partial solution to begin with. But when we do get the debt indicator back, we will be working something around this, and we will talk with CIT for how we will implement the debt indicator to help us be more successful in our offering. Obviously, BFS is a very important piece of it, but we're working on how they can get that in the file since it was removed from the change of FMS to BFS, okay? I think we were just on the CIT message board, a Unity Tax Partners message board the other day. We were talking about this. The start of the tax season has not been announced, but it was one of the big topics at Circa. And the intention is that they want to start the tax season on time, meaning mid-January, but have an extended rollout for testing. So if you remember several years ago, there was a really long hub or controlled launch period. Because there's so much tax code coming out this year, the IRS is operating at 20% less staff, and then so many of the senior people took the buyout and only some are back on contract. Their ability to deliver this with some of the senior people missing and IRS on a smaller staff is that it just may take them longer to get in full swing for the season, but they don't want to start late. They just want to roll it out longer. So think that like maybe it starts mid-January, but hub testing runs all the way through the end of January for a February start. We are not changing any of our dates for our offering. We'll still start the pre-act January 2nd, run it through e-file with the regular loan. We are not going to change our dates because taxpayers are definitely in need, right? Also keep in mind the premium tax credit is kind of run its course, discontinue at the end of the year. This will increase costs for taxpayers through the ACA marketplace. It'll also change that reject you had for the premium tax credit. It'll add a subtle nuance to the reject that you got for attaching that PDF associated with the ACA for the 8325. I apologize. One of you guys probably say right off the top of your head, I forget. I do have some of the draft forms and worksheets, but they're not available for release yet. But the second approved, I will provide that to CITs so they could show it to you, because I've been looking at some of the worksheets and schedules for the taxes on tips, OT, and auto interest. And then the only other thing to note is that the Trump saving account, basically when you're doing this through your return, you're only indicating to set it up. The confirmation will happen after the fact. You're only going through the return to indicate that you're setting that up to make the contribution. The account will happen after the fact, or the acknowledgement of the account and setup will happen after the fact. And we don't have the specific details on it yet, because that's the number one question I've been getting so far about that. The last thing is, and this is important for you because there are 800,000 taxpayers out there in the marketplace that are still doing this. The IRS is discontinuing checks this next year. And if an RT and DAN is not entered on the return, it'll take a taxpayer 6 to 8 weeks to receive their refund. Some of these taxpayers just refuse to give their direct deposit information because they don't want the IRS to have it, but there's a whole variety of reasons. The important part is, if you have any of those taxpayers that you know are historically like that, if you tell them it's going to take them 6 to 8 weeks to get their refund, if there's not an RT and DAN entered on the return, some of them will make a different choice. Well, remember, every single bank product has an RT and DAN on the return, and you can still give them a check, right? It's just a matter of what's filed to the IRS. So a bank product is a solution for this. All right. So checks, direct deposit, the net spend prepaid Visa. Most of you guys have been with us a long time, no changes. We still have the 24/7 verification, rolls to an agent if it needs to be manual. You print checks in your office. If you do office print all year round, it won't turn off until 12/2. If you do office print as the standard, June 1st, it rolls over to bank print, and then we print and mail your checks. You can change that at any time, but if you do, any checks that were released before change will still be mailed to the taxpayer. We can't pull checks back from United Mail once released to them to mail for you to print. It only affects future checks, but just make sure you have that set up the way you want. And then that's the cost associated with checks. I will say Walmart's the number one, but recently we've had a lot of people very successful with the letter of good funds that we providing to local banks in their area. Republic's large enough that most banks recognize our checks. The only problem we really had is in New York because they confuse us with the Republic that got in trouble. We're not that Republic. Direct deposit, keep in mind, do not confuse this with real-time payments. Real-time payments is completely separate. If they select direct deposit and the account setup, the money is instantaneous. Nights, weekends, holidays, the loan and the RT. A direct deposit not associated with that, we always send it the day prior to the effective date to have it coincide. but legally required to say 1 to 4 days, because if like send it on a Friday, it could be in the account Tuesday, but it's usually always the very next day. You send it Tuesday, it's there Wednesday. But again, because we get the notification so far in advance, we send it actually the day before the effective date to have it coincide. So when they look on the IRS website and it says, I'm supposed to have my money by this, we try to do that so they don't think that you have their money. And then the net spend prepaid Visa. Some of you that love these, really love these. The benefit is the net spend prepaid Visa is always front loaded. When we get the ACH file, we load the funds to the card immediately for the taxpayer. So whenever you do a card, it's kind of like RTP in that we're making the funds available from the ACH file. The difference is it's loaded on the card, right? And then the only other thing is the cards that you had last year are still good this year through the end of next year. We did change from Visa to MasterCard this past year. So the Visa cards are actually out, the MasterCard's in, but the cards you have, if you have extra cards, will be good through this season. If you're running low, let us know. We can get you some more. Now, if you're new to Republic, you must select in your enrollment that you want cards, or let us know that you want cards. The system defaults that if you had cards last year, you automatically have cards this year. But if you come into Republic for the very first time, you do have to indicate that you want debit cards. It's not automatic. Because some people don't offer. Okay, let's go into some details pertaining to the program. ERO support, republicrefund.com. All of you know it. I know a lot of you know it well because you constantly tell me things to fix. I will tell you, I really appreciate you guys last year, because when we started doing RTP, the fee status by taxpayer was showing money was released, yet the fees weren't in your account. You guys were the first to call and say, hey, Carter, I see money was released. It's not in my account. What's going on? Well, even though we were releasing it, if the bank didn't process it, those funds still weren't effective to you. So it was really hard for you to do the accounting to find out when the funds were effective. So if you notice in the fee status by taxpayer report, I added an effective date. That effective date, even though we're sending out early, is the date that would be effective for the bank to post as a normal ACH. It's just some banks that are set up RTP are processing those funds early. So, but it was fewer than more. So that's why we had to put that effective date, because it was only a handful of clients that were getting RTP just because their bank was set up like that. And then we have live assistance. It's 866-491-1040. Although I will tell you, if it's a tier 2 call, call the 866-676-2056, which is the TORS line, because that's our second tier group, and we just want you guys to get the best service. Now, I will tell you this little secret. All of your EFINs are denoted by VIP. So when you put in your EFIN and you're a Unity Tax Partner 0, you're already escalated to a higher tier. It's just if everybody's on the phone, it will kick back to the normal customer service. So marketing assistance the marketing kits go out in early December. The checks, sample marketing materials, Euro training materials, taxpayer education materials. Now, typically you get 2 shipments, okay? You get a shipment with your marketing supplies, and then you get the cards come separate and the checks can come separate. It's not always one. Make sure your mailing address is accurate. Last year, we had an inordinate amount of offices call us and say, we don't have our supplies. And they've been returned because the ERO had an outdated address or wasn't yet set up in the office or didn't send it to their home when their office wasn't set up, and we had to resend it. We just want to make sure that you have everything in advance. We did order some more of those feather banners this year. So we do have some more of those, and we do have some of the materials available in Spanish. We're actively trying to convert everything over to have Spanish as well. It's just not 100%. And then because more things are going through social media these days and people are marketing successfully, we're coming up with more templates that are customizable for downloading for your social media posts with images, scripts, banners. The good thing about the ones that are the fill and print is the disclaimers are all zipped up for you. You can kind of add your own language as long as you don't do anything that's, you shouldn't be saying, to get your marketing accomplished very fast. But if you create marketing from scratch, please just send it to that TRS advertising at republicbank.com so we can review it, because you'd be surprised. You can spend days on that, and sometimes there's just some language that's not approved. So we just ask that if you do your own marketing 100%, just let us take a look at it beforehand. Online tools. So through the tick that we talked about earlier, many of you know, because I've been pounding the drum for a couple seasons now, we went 100% digital 2 years ago. And so now there's no form submission in paper, it's all online. So it also shows the status of the submission. So like if it's submitted, in progress, or completed, so you can see. Also now, if there's something missing, an email will automatically trigger telling you what's missing from what you submitted, because what often happens is that someone will send a check reissue form without the voided check. They'll call customer service, say, I submitted this yesterday, I don't have a reissued check. Oh, you forgot to submit the voided check. Oh crap, why didn't someone tell me? Well, there's an automated email that goes out when they go to process the form that shows that, like, oh, the check's not there. So you need to make sure to check your email only when you're waiting on like that type of submission, because you can usually get an answer faster through that response than calling and asking to see, because you want to know in real time. It's just with running hundreds of thousands of these transactions, it's easier to communicate electronically than it is to get someone back on the phone when they're slammed in their office and say, hey, we didn't get the voided check, or it was the wrong check number, right? And we're doing same day reissuing for checks during peak season now for 2 seasons running. We have not run to the second day short of something's missing in 2 seasons. And that's a big deal considering we process millions of taxpayers. And then I always tell people, use the ERO form. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you don't have an answer, you'd be surprised who else is up and on that ERO form that can answer your question. Now, surprisingly, a few of you guys call me at 11:30 or midnight. If I'm up, I answer the question, but I'd encourage you to use the ERO forum to get your answers, in a pinch, if it's, midnight on a Saturday. Taxpayer support. Listen, if I impress anything upon you in this call, please let me impress this upon you. Taxpayers are a time suck. More and more of you are trying to find a way to do things more efficiently, get more accomplished in a shorter period of time. And since COVID's a lot changed. It used to be people were in their office, there was a line out the door, they were with their 10 key, putting in documents until that line was gone, and then they'd take a break. Now people are dropping stuff off. There are some people you never see that you had last year that moved. They're sending you stuff. You just don't have as much time to be on the phone with the taxpayer to try to accomplish your tasks. So there are 2 major ways that you can minimize the calls that you receive from taxpayers. RepublicTaxpayer.com, which you'll just find the details about the Republic Bank products, the summary of tax prep fees and other fees and funding. And if you set up text message alerts. Now, we always encourage irs.gov, and the 866-581-1040 obviously allows them to check through the IVR or person, but we also have, well, I'll come back to this slide. Let me go to this one first. We also have text messaging to where if you enter in the cell phone number for the taxpayer, they'll get text message updates to the status of their refund or loan approval. What we've started doing is we've told preparers, if you put in their cell phone and you know the cell phone's right? Because if you enable text messaging, when someone calls you and asks, am I approved yet? Or is it funded yet? The response is, did you get the text message? No, then you're not approved, or it hasn't funded yet. Because you can end up on the phone for 20 minutes with someone that's not supposed to fund till next week. Or their loan was declined and you end up in a 20-minute conversation as to why, when they had student loan debt and it was taken for student loan, right? Nothing that you did. Every year, this number keeps growing. I actually forgot to update this number. Last season, it was 50% of customers, or season 4 last, it was 50% of RT customers that chose this option. Last season, it was almost 75. I think preparers are finally starting to wisen up that they need to use their resources more to control the amount of time they have to do this, right? Work smarter, not harder. So what you do is you go into the TIC, on office info, options, features, and enable text messaging. Once you do, you just have to enter in the cell phone number on the bank application. And you can delay the text message up to 24 hours. I used to encourage people to do this. Listen, checks are dying. Direct deposits are king or queen. So you really don't have to delay as much anymore because you're not printing out 300 checks in a day. You're only printing out 10. But as soon as the print confirmation is received, that's when the text goes out. So if you just so happen to have a really heavy day of checks, make sure you delay the message by at least a few hours so you don't have people showing up while you're still trying to print checks and put them in the file, because they don't listen. Hey, I just need to finish it. I'll get your check. Well, if you just give me my check, I can get out of here. Yeah, hold on. They just don't listen. Right? Go back to this one real quick because I wanted to. The mobile app. I encourage people to install the mobile app for one reason: we're only using it. Tax prep fees paid and checks to print. The best thing about the mobile app, you pop it open, you go checks to print, you see, oh, I got 12 checks to print. Hey, Barb or Bob needs to get in the office. You can have checks to print at least 10:30. Just go get those printed and put in the file. Or, oh, I got 37,000 in fees coming today, 137,000 fees. Okay, I can go pay payroll and do this, right? It's just a real quick snapshot of what your day is going to look like. And keep in mind, now that we're putting the effective date on notification, your fee status by taxpayer is actually giving you 5 days notification, advance notification on fees being paid, because we're doing it from when it's sent, but the effective date, which is from the ACH file, the effective date will be when that money should be in the account, but you'll see when fees are happening up to 5-6 days in advance. So we because people always wanted to know when things were funding earlier, we're actually giving the full ACH file notification from that effective date now. And then we're here to help. We love you guys. Unity Tax Partner is a very close partner. I actually have a very close relationship with a lot of you, the preparers. Worked with you a long time. Love you guys to death. We are here to help in any way. Just remember, you've got a really unique circumstance this year, because not only do you have a $0 RT, but you're doing this RTP for the loan and the RT for free. So your value prop is huge. Nobody else can say that, because the only other bank doing this is charging $25 to the taxpayer for it. And that's with a full RT fee. So by comparison, your service relative to the cost, even if you do the a la carte Unity audit, your total cost is still less than just an RT with their RTP and the transmitter fee. So in this day and age, with the refunds going up, you guys should have a boom. We also firmly believe, and this was a big conversation last week, that more taxpayers are going to go to paid professionals this year than in many years past, because there's so much confusion about taxes on tips and OT, auto interest, the Trump saving account, seniors, and the deduction, that they won't feel comfortable that they're maximizing their refund when they're filing themselves. They'll want to come to a paid preparer to make sure they're maximizing the refund. You are going to get people refund shopping too. Don't fall in that trap, because they're going to be people that are trying to get you to fudge to get the highest refund. Now, the IRS is running on skeleton crew. I can't say for sure that audits are going to be crazy, but we do know that there's a higher propensity for fraud when you have these types of increase in deductions, right? Because this isn't so much about credits, it's more about deductions. And then if you have an email, send them to enroll@republicbank.com. General Republic Refunds, our website, and that's the TORS queue where you can reach my team at the 676-2056. And then what kind of questions we got, everybody?
Thank you again so much for doing this today, Carter. Real quick before we jump into questions, I do want to remind everyone, if you have not completed your bank app for this year, get that taken care of as soon as you can. Again, opt-in for a lot of these products begin this Saturday, November 1st. If you need to still bank enroll, the website you're going to go to complete that bank enrollment is going to be enrollments.taxwise.com. And you can complete it there. If you do need any assistance with it, feel free to give us a call. I know Lily's talked to most of you already, but we are here to help any which way we can. And Omar, did you have anything to add before we jumped into Q&A? All right, so it looks like we're gonna go a little all over the place, Carter, so you're gonna have to follow me along.
Bring it, bring it.
First question is going to be, is there a way to get a list of banks that definitely participate in real-time payments, such as, Bank of America, Wells Fargo?
Okay, that's a great question, and I actually like the way the question was asked too, so bear with me. Go to www.theclearinghouse.org. Over on the right, there's a drop down. You go to real-time payments. Once you do that, you can get a list of RTNs or do an RTN search, because this is so important. Please hear this, because I made the same mistake last year. It's not the bank, because there are banks that participate in it, yet this account or this branch doesn't. So it's the specific routing transit number that participates. Like Chase participates, but not every branch is set up via RTP, because RTP is actually a twofold. It's set up for sending and receiving. So there are some RTNs that are just for sending, like we're set up for sending, right? And then some branches that are just set up for receiving. So if you go to the clearinghouse.org, real-time payments, there's a list. It's a huge list. So you need to do it by state or bank. Or there's actually where you can enter in the RTN and search to see if that RTN is covered. But that's the best way to do it. And there's no way to cover all your clients, because the list is so huge. I mean, considering that 65% of accounts are eligible, that's a hell of a lot of RTNs, right? But your best bet is going there. Because I can be sure when we start doing this for offices, you guys will all set up with banks that are receiving for RTP. I'm sure. If we can tell you we can do your fees in real time, you'll be set up tomorrow.
Perfect. So would it be a good idea for them maybe to have a printout in their intake area while clients are waiting, that they could go on and check if they're RT?
I mean, so the problem is you wouldn't be able to do it by paper. It'd be reams of paper. If they had a laptop set up, or someone that could just type in their RTN to say yes. I mean, it's hard to say what the best opportunity for it is, because what you don't want to do is also sow discord. You'd rather it be something where, there's a chance they get it, they wouldn't know until it happens, because if you tell them it isn't, you don't want to do anything to dissuade them, because considering other banks don't have it, it's not something like they did something wrong. But if they hear it's not set up with RTP, they could get mad. Well, that's not on the preparer. It's not really even on the taxpayer. It's on the bank that they're using. So personally, for me, I would just go to clearinghouse.org, put in their RTN. I mean, I guess they could go from the direct deposits from last year, pull it into an Excel file and search on those RTNs to know who was versus who wasn't. Because there are some taxpayers that will choose to get an advance because they are set up via RTP, not for the advance, but because they know they'll get their RT 5 days faster. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. All right. In conjunction with that, so when they're talking to their clients, should they just say they could receive refund advance and RT same day, depending upon your bank, or what's their best terminology?
Yes, that's actually the best way to say it. But be mindful, it has to be a direct deposit. So the disbursement option is important, right? So if that person's a check or a card, don't even bring it up unless they would choose to do direct deposit, because it has to be a direct deposit. And then remember, You have to specify that the RT is before the same day. The loan's the same day, but the RT is from the ACH notification, so it's actually 5 to 6 days sooner, right? It's not that when it would be effective, we're sending it to their account. Like we get a notification today, Friday, for next Wednesday, they're going to have their money Friday, not Wednesday, right? So they have to be clear on the RT is early. The loan is in real time.
Okay, beautiful. I do see several questions here about receiving a copy of this webinar. Once we end things up, we will get it posted to our YouTube channel as quick as we can. You can always access our YouTube channel via any of the emails we've sent out. You can go directly to YouTube and type in Unity Tax Partners, and that will pull up our channel. But we will get that out as soon as it's available. Next question. Carter, could you confirm what that second tier support number that they can dial in is?
Yeah, it's 888-676-2056. Now, please keep in mind, don't do this for exception processing stuff like a check reissue, or I submitted my taxpayer maintenance form, or because we don't have access to that queue. This is all about, like, I'm not sure my fees are right, or I didn't get the right amount of wrap, or, did I opt in for this program, or why am I not eligible for this program? All the things where it takes, something other than a knowledge database, right, to answer critical questions. That's what we're here for. And, about your business. Customer service is that, but it's also tied to exception processing specifically. Our team would love to help, but we don't have access to the exception processing queue to see when you submitted your check reissue and where it is in status. We have to go to EP. So you still want to go to that other number for those things. Just use us for all other more sophisticated conversations or inquiries. Because we hate when you call us and we're like, yeah, we're the escalated group. And then you ask a question for something we don't have access to, like your check, your issue you just submitted. We'll see a comment, but we don't see the actual form. We can't pull it up.
And will you say that number one more time? I'm just going to
Sure. 888 676 2056. Here, I'm going to put it in there.
All right, next question. When will training for ARBN numbers open up?
I love it when people give me softballs because this is exciting. I know you guys, we've been training right next to Thanksgiving, which is just what you want to think about when you're going to eat like 4 pounds of turkey. We are actually going live on 11/3 this year.
Wow. So Monday.
Monday, training is live.
Beautiful. I love that. It's going to be nice and quick this year.
Yeah, it is good because when it's so close to Thanksgiving, it's just hard for people. And remember, don't try to use your ARBN for last year. Your ARBN will work across the entire office, but here's why it's so important to have everybody in your office do the training. Let's say you end up with a rogue agent in your office. We can identify a rogue agent by PETN or ARBN to where if something happens, we can specifically shut them down and not you down. If you do everything under one ARBN, one PETN, but you got multiple people in the office and something happens like along the lines of fraud. We have no way of saying, well, that was them, not the office, and shut the office down, right? Our goal is to approach the issue and not affect your business adversely if you just happen to hire someone in error. We want to help you carve them out and make them responsible and even help give you the material to make them responsible, not affect you adversely. Because, listen, I've hired crappy people before. It happens. It's just when they start doing funny business that it affects the reputation of your business. So, sorry, that was just a little ad. By making sure everybody has a PETN and gets an ARBN, you end up with the bad egg. I can find them and I can cut them off. And then we have a better ability of gathering the stuff to say, look, it was them, right?
Perfect. And let's see what else we have. Is there a way for tax professionals to secure amended payments or past return e-files versus taking upfront payments?
So are you talking about amended returns or prior year returns? There's a
Both.
difference. Okay. Is this a plan? Who asked that question? Because there's something working, but sure it's not a plan. Okay. So let's talk about this in two parts. Amendments are very challenging because it's for up to 3 years and 3 iterations, right? And currently the Treasury, the ACH information does not designate anything specified to the return iteration or the year. So when you receive money, because there is no specified act that's received on an amendment, it's very hard for us to do amended returns because of how many iterations and how many years. We're working on it, but we actually need the IRS to provide some notification in the note or allow some specialization in what's provided for us to identify what it pertains to, because most people that do amendments, they're also doing the current year, and we can't mix like a current year filing with an amendment. So we're working on it, but right now there's a limitation for amendments associated with those limitations, right? So we're working on it, but it's easier said than done. Prior year returns. We are currently working on a pilot for prior year returns. After this year, we may have something for you to be able to process prior year returns as bank products. Amendments, maybe gonna take a little longer. Prior year returns in 26, 27, likely we'll have a solution for you. We really need to make sure that what we're trying to do this year works to offer it further, because we know there's an increasing need, and what's happening in the tax marketplace right now, people that went underground because they thought there was going to be a stimulus check and didn't file, or there was going to be late tax code change, so they didn't file. There are more people that are showing up that didn't do their return last year that you want to do both and you want to get your fee out. What I can tell you is, in the instance we do this, a prior year tax prep fee is disclosed separately from a current year tax prep fee. So like you could charge a full tax prep fee this year and you could charge a full tax prep fee last year. It's not like they have to combine, but it is not an offering currently. It is a pilot, and let's circle back around this next summer to talk about our ability to offer that through Unity Tax Partners. You would hear it from Unity, not us, but it is something we're working on. Amendments are going to take a little longer, and you got a lot of smart people working on it. It's hard as bank products.
Perfect. And I think that's about all the questions we've gotten in. I do have a couple other questions that are specific to your individual office. So if we did not get a chance to answer them during this webinar, feel free to give us a call, and we will also reach out to you to make sure we're answering any office specific questions. The only other thing that I do see we've gotten a couple questions on was CIT or Unity Tax Partners audit program, which Omar, I don't know if you want to talk about briefly. We will have a webinar on that in the coming weeks as well to learn more.
You're muted.
You're muted.
You're still muted.
Can you guys hear me now? I think so.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what's going on with my microphone, but yeah, if you visit unitytaxshield.com, you can get some updates on that. Same exact program, same exact coverage as last year. We just changed the name, and I'll be sending out a webinar invite and demoing all the features that we have and how to handle everything, and opening enrollment for that later on. Okay, so Unity only program available for Unity offices, so anyone can enroll. It's an optional thing that you can do to add more value into your business. So I'll be more than happy to share that details when in that webinar if you guys can join. We'll also record it and pass it along, provide more details.
I have something to Alexis that I wanted to point out, having the experience on both sides of the fence. So as I said, we do tens of thousands of offices and millions of taxpayers. And there's something you guys need to know, because you don't know if the grass is greener on the other side. So it's important you hear this. Unity Tax Partners, or CIT as it was known last year, has experienced the least amount of attrition amongst this offering than the traditional marketplace because of price sensitivity. In this day and age, the program you're offering is the most attractive to taxpayers because of price sensitivity, right? If you've noticed, taxpayers are acting different than they did in the past. It used to be, it didn't matter what the fee was. They could get their full refund amount in the loan. In this day and age, that matters. So the difference between you and a comparable office, your average fee is significantly lower. I think your average tax prep fee was $323 last year, right? As a national average, you guys are anywhere from $50 to $100 less, and that's just tax prep fee. When you add in an RT fee, a transmitter fee, there are other transmitters before the first tax prep fees charged. The fee is $128. So you need to keep in mind that you, compared to the person down the street, when someone sits in your office and complains to you, they often don't have a comparison to someone else charging a lower fee. Even with it's just tax prep, once you add in those other fees, you guys are much lower. So you guys have experienced more success than your counterparts because of the program you're associated with. And obviously, you run good operations. I'm not trying to take anything away from you as the preparer, but this is where the market is right now. So you're in a good circumstance. And I think with refunds going up and more people going to paid preparers this next year, it could likely be a boom. It really could.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Carter. And again, we're here to support you guys any which way we can. Your success is also our success. Aside from that, at the end of this webinar, you will be redirected to Unity Tax Partners, our new webpage. So give that a look. And then if you have any other questions, you let us know. You have any final remarks, Omar?
I know. Please check out the new website. We're excited about this year and the upcoming webinars and some of the changes. Can't wait to get some of these details out to you all. Again, awesome job, Carter. We love doing these webinars. They're the best kickoff to the season. I really appreciate everyone joining us. And thank you again, Carter.
Thank you for having me. As I said, I'm partial to you guys. And when I say that you guys are VIPs, I'm not just saying that for giggles. You guys are actually denoted in our system as VIPs. So you guys are handled differently than others. If you have a 5-minute wait, that means that other people have about a 15-minute wait.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate it. And thank you for your help, Alexis. I'll get this posted ASAP for everyone who didn't join. And the ones that need to play it again, in case you want to watch it again. I'll get it posted all over our media channels. All right, we ready to wrap it up?
Yep. Thank you guys for attending today, and we look forward to talking to you.
All right. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.